Okay, shalom. Right, this is a really exciting. I'm so excited to be able to give over this new gematria. I had an impression in my soul to do a shorter version of a teaching that I've just done. Besides me, there is no Saviour. And when I came to do the shorter version, I actually found a mathematical error in one of my calculations, so I thought, just wait a minute, that's not right. I've since had to edit it out of the former teaching. However, when I did the actual numbers, no wonder I had a prompter in the spirit, the other numbers were just phenomenal. So anyway, I'm going to go through this teaching. They blow me away, so I hope that you can share my enthusiasm. I want this to be a quicker version of this whole concept, beside me there is no Saviour. I'm just going to go one slide and go through it and point out this new gematria that I found that's so wonderful. Everything blows my mind. I learned a lot from this because it was the total of a previous. I just made an error adding the two regular and gematria up. I mean, when I'm looking at the numbers, when I come to do the short version, I'm saying, how could he have missed that? It's unbelievable. But anyway, obviously we all make errors. But one of the things that I got from when I was looking at it, and I want you to bear this in mind, because we read this in Koheleth. It was Shabbos, it was the Shabbos, the intermittent Shabbos within Sukkoth, this previous Shabbat. We're on Sunday now, so we're on the day after Shabbat, and the first day, Yom Harishon. And anyway, I was sat in the sukkah and reading Kohelet, and this particular phrase comes up in Kohelet, and which is Ecclesiastes, and it's the 3-chord play that cannot be easily broken. And when I looked at this situation, basically I'd made a mistake, and then I mean it was just I were 1,000 out. I must have not added 1,000 to it, or I can't imagine how I've done it anyway, but I were 1,000 out, which is Mashiach anyway, isn't it? Mashiach ben David plus Mashiach ben Yosef. Anyway, goes listen, and I was thinking to myself, so I did the actual numbers, and when I did the actual numbers, they said exactly what the mistake had revealed in a much, much, much better way. So I was thinking, and what came into my mind was the concept of the 3-chord ply, because I used the 3 numbers. I used the regular and I used the ordinal, and then I used the total of those two. So to me, I've always had it in the back of my mind, this is a 3-chord ply. And I thought, when one of them snapped, like when I'd added one up wrong, the others were able to, obviously when you're dealing with the 3 numbers together in unity, when I've made a mistake, one, because I don't conceptually depart from what the sages has said. So I'm not just talking what I see in front of you. I'm talking what I see in front of you, what I know the sages have revealed also in their teachings, like the inner dimension of the Torah, the Kabbalistic teachings and stuff like that. But it just really, I was really delighted the fact that even though I'd made this mistake and I'd brought up, it was all about Amalek, but then as I've gone through this way, the numbers revealed, the problem with Amalek coming against concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. But in this teaching, you'll see that the exact same numbers reveal even more, and still within there is the concept of Amalek that we've got to defeat. So we're really, really pleased about it. It was I'm pleased I got a prompting to make this a quicker version. By the time I've warbled on now, it's probably going to be longer than the original. But anyway, let's get started with these extremely exciting numbers. Okay. Right, so I am the Lord, beside me there is no Saviour. It's from Isaiah 43:11. Comes to 837 regular plus 252 ordinally. Together they come to 1,089. 1,089 is 3 times 363, 3 times HaMoshiach, the Messiah. So there's 3 aspects to the Messiah basically, but this is clearly indicating to us that the salvation of YHVH is manifest to us through the concept of the Mashiach. Okay, so there's three aspects to the Mashiach. There's the body of the bird, which is Moshiach incarnated at the level of Neshama, the soul of the Mashiach at the level of Neshama. There's the left wing of the bird, which is Mashiach ben Yosef, Yeshua incarnated at this level. There's the right wing of Mashiach ben Yosef, ben David, when the Mashiach finally returns. And together that's like the bird of redemption, isn't it? That elevates us up to the status of Adam in Gan Eden. So there is this concept of Mashiach, and there's the three aspects of Mashiach that you must be united perfectly as one in order to reveal the oneness of the name YHVH. Okay, these numbers are also extremely significant. I've gone past on them in previous teachings, and this number, I think even in the previous teaching to this. Let's go on. Okay, just bear in mind when there's a lot of numbers in front of you, I want to encourage people who are not used to gematria. This is very simple mathematics. It's basically adding, adding and multiplying, and that is it. There's usually two numbers that just add together to get a total, and I use multiples of that number, or multiples that or factors of that number, I should say, factors and multiples, and that's it. What a number will divide into, what a number will times by. So it's all multiples or addition. So the most basic maths possible. No subtraction, no division. So it can't get any simpler than that. And so I want to encourage people, just bear with it, because I'm a maths teacher and I know that this is basic maths. For some people, when you're seeing a lot of numbers, straight away you can get a cutout, but it's not. Just bear with it, and I will hopefully explain it very carefully as we're going along. You've got to be aware, though, that Hebrew is not just a numerical, not just an alpha. It's alpha-numerical. It's both got. There's no numbers in Hebrew. Okay, the numbers are letters. So that's where we get the numbers from. The fact that the numbers are letters themselves. The letters are numbers themselves. So we've got to take both the textual understanding of the letters, the words of the letters, and the numbers of the letters, and we can gain meaning when we unite these two revelations, both the numbers and the text. Okay, so this number 1089 comes up to dust shall you return, Genesis 3:19. It's got an ordinal of 117, very significant. Together those numbers add up, the regular and the ordinal add up to 1206, which is a multiple of 201. It's 6 times 201. Both these are highly significant numbers because both are related to the concept of light, as we shall see. So we've got this. First of all, this 1206 is directly related to the concept of light, because R, light, equals 207. That's the regular gematria of it. So we've got 1 for Aleph, 6 for Vav, 200 for Resh. But when we spell it with a mispar gadol, where the Aleph is equivalent to 1,000, what we call big numbering, mispar gadol, numbering that is big, and we use 1,000 instead, we've got 1,006 plus 200, which comes to 1,206. Exactly the same as this. To dust shall you return. Now, this is a highly coded message, okay, because death is a part of a rectification that we all have to experience. Okay, we experience death in different ways. There's physical death and there's spiritual death. So we can sometimes descend spiritually, and that's classed as a death. We can lose our spiritual level, but we can actually physically die also. Both are intended to ultimately bring about a tikkun, a rectification that enables us to be rectified so that we can get back to our station in Gan Eden. So this is all coded message, and it's very, very much related to Mashiach, because we've got this number here, which is 3 times Mashiach. So we know that Moshe had to descend into exile. It can be a spiritual descent also into exile, which we all are in now. We are all suffering this Edomite exile. But all suffering either is a high good purpose that YHVH has planned, and that high good purpose is ultimately for us to be able to receive that YHVH desires to bestow upon us. So we're going through a rectification process. And also, it's not just that. There are everything about it is wondrous and awesome. And there's things that it is so wondrous and awesome that our mind cannot even perceive at this time. So this is where our faith in YHVH comes in. Everything YHVH is ultimately awesome in ways that we can't even fathom. They are so awesome. So even this concept of tikkun, rectification, and sometimes having to experience suffering and catastrophe and things like death, them in and of themselves, they are obviously they're very real to us when we're experiencing them, but the end, or the thing that we attain after them and through them, are so wondrous to bring us into a face-to-face relationship with the name YHVH, that the things in and of themselves are incomparable to what they achieve for us in our lives. And like I say, some of this we can't even perceive. It's so good. So everything, even this concept, to dust you shall return, it's highly coded message for us to return to that place where we're ultimately in a face-to-face relationship with YHVH, receiving that he desires to bestow upon us in a rectified state, with ultimately experiencing not just death but the resurrection of the dead, where our bodies and souls are united as one, and our bodies are in a state of correction. So we're not suffering from the fantasy fiction, and we're not suffering from our lusts and our greeds and our delusions, and we're not suffering from the sin, if you like, or the corruption. We fully rectified. Okay, so that's very much related to HaMoshiach. We all fell in Adam, we will all rise in Mashiach. Okay, it's got an ordinal of 117 there. So we can see light is very much connected. The revelation of light comes through here, to dust you shall return, to this process of rectification that we're all in now, these 6,000 years of history that we're all in, to be able to attain an ultimate good that is very much associated with the revelation of the light. Okay, that light, by the way, is the name YHVH, is the only light. But through the light of Mashiach, we experience the light of YHVH. Okay, so we've got the 201. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. This is the ordinal of this verse. However, as I've pointed out many times in my teachings, Vayoma Elohim, Yehi Or, this first section, and God said, let there be light, comes to 575, which is exactly the same as evil inclination. We get nothing to us handed to us on a plate. We have to work in order to reveal that light. We are partakers in creation with the Creator, our Father in heaven. Okay, so we have to battle against our lusts and our desires and our fantasy and fiction in order to reveal that light. Okay, the next section of it, Yehi Or, Yhi Or, comes to 407. Sorry, that is not ordinal. The Vayoma Elohim, Yehi Or, is the regular gematria. Okay, Yehi Or, Yhi Or, the regular gematria of that comes to 470. 470 is a spelling out of the name Amalek. So the first filling out of the name Amalek comes to 470. We have to battle doubt, which is the worst husk to battle. It's the worst shell that we have to go against. Amalek is synonymous with doubt, but Amalek is the children of Israel's most the hardest enemy that we have to face is doubt. There's a lot of doubt regarding the concept of Mashiach, especially Mashiach ben Yosef, but we need to reveal the truth about Mashiach ben Yosef in order to reveal that unity between the three aspects of Mashiach, Moshe, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, and in order then to reveal the salvation and the provision that YHVH has made. Okay, to save us from this state of exile and to ultimately bring us to that place where we are fully restored. There is an element of salvation involved in that. But from our point of view, there's also an element of work. It is us that battles against Amalek, and it will be us that is ultimately saved from this whole experience of Amalek where we are confronting these enemies like our evil inclination. Our evil inclination will be subdued. When it comes to Amalek, Amalek needs a raising. Okay, so our evil inclination, in order to reveal the light hidden in it, we have to completely and totally subdue that impulse to the side of holiness. Okay, to use it for holy purposes rather than for evil, egocentric purposes. When it comes to doubt, however, we've got to completely erase it. We cannot leave a trace of doubt, because that trace of doubt will grow and breed into more doubt, and that will conceal the name YHVH, and we are needing to reveal that light. Okay, so we've got to erase doubt completely, totally annihilate it and leave no trace of it. So it's a bit different from transforming evil into good. The way that we reveal light that is trapped in Amalek is to erase Amalek, to erase doubt, because through erasing doubt we will reveal the name YHVH, and opposite doubt is faith and trust. Okay, and truth. You know, it's certainty. We should be certain that there is only YHVH and nothing else, and these things that conceal that reality need to be dealt with effectively. Okay. Right, then we've got this major concept regarding Mashiach ben Yosef. And we're going to go through two aspects now that link up to this number 1089. So we've got a not erase his name comes to 446. Welo yimcha shemo. Okay, so this is taken from the Torah and it's regarding the Levirate marriage. We know that Ruth married Boaz in a Levirate marriage. She was married to Mahlon. He died. She was childless. She then married Boaz when she returned to Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. And from that union came forth Oved. And after Oved was Yishai, Jesse. And after Jesse, King David was born through Yishai, Jesse. Okay, so we know that this concept of Levirate marriage is very much related to the concept of Mashiach through Ruth. The story of Ruth shows us this. And so not erase his name. This is the man who died. And what happens is the wife of the man who died has to marry the brother, one of the brothers who is still alive. Okay, and from that union comes forth the Mashiach. Okay, from the union of Ruth came forth the Mashiach, but in the normal circumstances it's just a wife marries a brother and the brother dies before she gives birth to children, and then she marries a brother and she gives birth to a child, and the child that they give birth to is in the name of the brother that was deceased, so that his name is not erased from Yisrael. And here we can see that the three letters in the middle of this, Yod, Mem, Chet, He and Shin, can be rearranged to spell HaMoshiach. So we know this whole concept of the Levirate marriage is related to HaMoshiach. Okay, it comes to a regular 446, which is HaEmet, the truth. Okay, Yeshua called himself the truth, and there's a very good reason for that. And it's very much linked to this, and not erase his name. We'll get to the problem that we face at this time. It also comes to an ordinal of 95, which is the king, HaMelech. also comes to 95. Together those numbers add up to 541. 541 is Yisrael. Okay, so we've got, so it comes to Yisrael 541. So very, very powerful concepts. The truth, the king, and Yisrael all united in this one verse and not erase his name. This one part of a verse, not erase his name, are linked to Levirate marriages. And I've gone on previously, I've done teachings previously, but I'm just trying to do a quick one this time regarding this concept. Okay, so you've got, may his name be erased in his memory. Yimach shemo wazichro. Okay, so anybody who's watching my teachings will have come across, not for the first time, will have come across this concept many, many times. Okay, and I just encourage you to keep going because the numbers that are coming up are wonderful. So if you're very familiar with this through watching my teachings a lot, bear with me and we'll get to some more exciting teachings that we've never come across before, or some exciting concepts that we've never come across before. Certainly the numbers have never been put together. So may his name be erased on his memory. Yemach Shemo Wezichro is the curse with which Yeshua is cursed within rabbinical Judaism. So he's not called Yeshua, salvation, Yeshua. Okay, so it's Moshiach, but in amongst that, it could be rearranged from Yeshua comes salvation. Okay, it could be rearranged because there's a letter of Yeshua there, and then the mem, which if it's put in front means from. Okay, so from Yeshua. But anyway, we've got this Yimach Shemo Wezichro to deal with instead. This is the derogatory way in which Yeshua is called within rabbinical Judaism, which makes it very hard not to doubt, because this is embedded in rabbinical Judaism, but at this time it's embedded in a way in which the Torah of Moshe is in exile. There's a concept of the Torah of Moshe being in exile within the Aggadic tales to be found in the Talmud. So in the Talmud, Yeshu, who is relating to Yeshua, Jesus, is boiling in a pot of excrement, okay, for all eternity, because he's so wicked. So we've got the whole concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, which is utterly and absolutely glorious. This was the will of YHVH, that his name be diminished, so that he could come into exile and suffer and atone for us in order to help the entire of humanity reach that place where we are able to, in Mashiach, as one, return to our former glory and above, to be put into a state of Gan Eden, from which we originally all fell, to a state which we will all rise in Mashiach. And the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef suffering with us in this Edomite exile is the will of YHVH in order to accomplish that. Yet this whole concept is seen in such an exiled way within rabbinical Judaism. It's in there. It's in there, and it's definitely absolutely embedded, this whole way in which YHVH has willed that the soul of Mashiach descend into this exile with us and suffer with us, but also strengthen us and cause us to rise ultimately in order for us to attain that rectification, in order to bring us all back to a place, our elevated status in the Garden of Eden, and then from there even grow further. So it was the will of YHVH. Everything that's the will of the YHVH is complete, supreme good. But he hid this. He hid the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. And this is what the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef fuels our imagination, because we're in Edomite exile, and Edomite is synonymous with our Yetzer Hara, our outer Esav, our fantasy fiction and things like that. And the whole concept of Mashiach ben Yosef within Christianity is nothing but fantasy and fiction for the most part, but there's great truth hidden in it, just as we can see here, Wayoma Elohim Yehi Or, and that is the same gematria as evil inclination. Esav and Edomite exile are very much synonymous with the concept of the evil inclination, Hasatan, delusion and lies, and the serpent. Okay, we've got to battle with that in order to reveal the truth. So there's truth within Christianity, and I go on this all the time. So going back to this, Yemcha Shemo was Ikro. So obviously there's truth in the concept as well within Rabbinic Judaism that creates nothing but fantasy and fiction, because the Torah of Moshe has descended into Erev Rav. Despite Moshe pleading, he wasn't allowed to go with the children of Israel into Eretz Israel. Why? Because he's the Mashiach. The Mashiach is an inclusive soul. He includes all humanity. Moshe included the Erev Rav. He couldn't go in without them, because he's not complete without rectifying the Erev Rav. Yeshua, the Mashiach ben Yosef, is not complete without rectifying the lost house of Israel and the righteous of the nations. Okay, his soul is simply not complete. That's why he's in exile, suffering with us, helping us through this process of rectification and providing atonement for us. Moshe's suffering in Erev Rav exile is providing atonement. Okay, and Erev Rav dominates within Judaism at this time. Edomite fantasy fiction dominates within Christianity at this time, but it won't always. There's a plan that's involved in this. And the plan is for us to ultimately, the truth to be revealed, the king to be revealed, the sheaf to be revealed, that the Mashiach has been gathering in to be revealed, and for that to arise, and all the other sheaves to bow down to it. So we'll go across these concepts. So it's a glorious will of YHVH, for a glory that we can't even behold. It's that glorious, and yet look at the way we perceive the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef in this world, in exile at this time. It couldn't have descended further. It couldn't fuel more fantasy fiction than what it does. And yet it is that light, the light of Mashiach, that ultimately reveals the salvation of YHVH. When we unite the concept of Moshe, the suffering of Moshe in Erev Rav exile with the suffering of Yeshua in Edomite exile, we unite them together, we will ultimately reveal Moshiach ben David through that unity. Okay, so may his name be erased in his memory. This is about Mashiach ben Yosef. It's the curse, it was the will of YHVH, but the will of YHVH, like I say, is just mocked. In exile, in Erev Rav exile, which dominates Judaism at this time, it's just a mockery. Okay, however, let's have a look at these numbers. 643 plus 121 comes to 764. I've gone over this loads. 764 is 4 times 191, and 191. There's 4 names given to the Mashiach in the Talmud. There's Menachem, Shiloh, Yinon, and Chanina. Okay, and I think that's right, yeah. The 4 names, the initial letters of each spell Mashiach. So Menachem, Shiloh, Yinon, and Chanina. All those initial letters for those 4 names spell Mashiach. But they're the 4 names that are given in the Talmud. Okay, the ordinal of those 4 names comes to 191. So this is 4 times 191. Okay, so what's that telling you? The one who has his written, the one, even in the Talmud, the Mashiach is the one who had his name erased. It's Yeshua. Okay. So that number, the 191 and the 4 names are mentioned, are the names of Mashiach in Sanhedrin 98. It's all related to this concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay. And then the concept of sheaves, just like Yosef said, my sheaf arose. This is the gathering in of the lost holy sparks, of which I am one, the lost house of Yosef, and I'm delighted I've been gathered in, because I was lost. I had no hope, and if it wasn't for the Mashiach suffering in this exile with us, then I wouldn't be where I am today. He has accomplished a lot, even just in my life, and I am truly, truly thankful. And I know that every Christian would be, if they were, every single Christian has experienced that same light that has reached them, but we are in exile, and this truth gets quickly descends into the Edomite slavery into which we have all been subjected. So that truth, the experience of the soul of Mashiach touching you is very, very real. This is why the Christians can only talk about Mashiach and nothing else. because that is the ultimate reality that they have experienced, and it's the life-transforming reality when that soul of Mashiach touches you and wakens you up. But unfortunately, that whole experience gets interpreted within the Edomite, Greco-Roman mindset in which we are all enslaved at this time. But the truth will be revealed, and we will all be delighted when that truth is fully revealed and we can abandon all this folly and delusion and things that we believe, Christmas and Easter, and it goes on, idol worship, and the bound up with the Roman holy, it's not of holy, the Roman unholy church and everything that goes on. But there is holiness hidden in that, there's purpose in that. It was the will of YHVH to cause the Mashiach ben Yosef to descend into Edomite exile, and that's exactly what we've got before us these last 2,000 years. It's you can actually see it, but there is light in there. That is the actual name of YHVH revealed, and his salvation revealed, and we've got to be mature enough to erase the outer husks, the shell that are concealing his name, and bring about from that concealment itself the revelation of the name YHVH. Okay, so if we add these two numbers together, the 446, 643 will come to 1089. Okay, which, like I say, is 3 times HaMoshiach, the 3 aspects of HaMoshiach. Right, there we've got this wonderful connection to Yosef. Yosef made himself known. How did he make himself known? Through the very concealment itself. Okay, where did Yosef make himself? He looked like Pharaoh. He took his mask off and he revealed the truth to his brothers. Okay, Yeshua he was in Egyptian slavery, he looked like Pharaoh. Yeshua's in Edomite slavery. Guess what he looks like, an Edomite? He's not. He's a Hebrew, just as Yosef is called a Hebrew, Ivri. Yeshua is Ivri. This is just a delusion that we have got to use in order to reveal. You've got to use that concealment to reveal the truth. Okay, so that comes to 643. Exactly the same as may his name be erased. It's utter and absolute perfection. Plus, there's all kinds of other wonderful gematria. I can't go on it today because I want it to be a bit quicker, but Cup of Blessing, I think, is another one that's 643. And there's other ones I've gone through previously. There's a video that I did about is basically the same, the salvation for all humanity. It's like a red and yellow. I'll put the link in the comments. That goes through the number 643 more than this teaching is going to do. I'll put the link if you're interested. Right, and what have we got here? We've got 121 plus 95, which is the ordinals, comes to 216. And then we've got, just wait a minute. Right, I forgot to put my battery on, so it just dimmed for a minute there. So 121 plus 95 is 216. 1089, which is this number here, we know where that comes from, plus the 216, which is the ordinals, comes to 1305, which is 5 times 261. Okay, come across this number loads in my teachings. However, let's go and have a look, because there's some more numbers that I found after I'd made the mistake that I did. So here is where I made the mistake. Like I say, I've edited it out of the teaching that I'd put on YouTube, so hopefully it won't be in any of my other teachings. But and his eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel, from Isaiah 17:7. Okay, so comes to 118 regular plus 261. So we've got a link back here. Okay, they together come to 2061. Okay, I put on a previous teaching 1061, so anyway, I made a bit of a mistake there, but 261 times 2 equals 522. Very significant number. We come across this all the time. However, 2061 is 3 times 687, and that is 3 times 229, and this is very, very significant. So it would be 9 times 221 is 2061. Okay. Right, so I'd put that this is that when I got the number wrong, I'd put that it was to do with Amalek, a filling out of Amalek. Well, I weren't wrong. It was, but I've got a better connections by doing the right numbers. You shall remember what Amalek did to you on the way also comes to 1,800. So we see that connection through there. It's got an ordinal of this. You shall remember what Amalek did to you on the way. Comes to 234, which is connected to this concept up here. To dust shall you return, because 2 times this comes to this, and we're going to see very shortly that that's also a filling out of the name Yeshua. Okay, so obviously we've got to get rid of doubt. I've already talked about that through this concept down here. In order to reveal the light of Mashiach, we have to get rid of the doubt. In order for us to attain our status back up in the Garden of Eden, we have to obliterate doubt. Okay? What usually happens, we should erase the name of Amalek, not the name of the Mashiach. It's the complete opposite. We've got to erase the name of Amalek completely from under heaven. But what have we done? We've erased the name of Mashiach ben Yosef, who reveals the salvation of YHVH. We've got it wrong. In exile, we've got it wrong. We've been deceived. We need to get this aspect right. We need to obliterate down 100%. 243 then, it's literally linked up to here. We don't get to there until we've sorted this out. Also, the 1080, okay, is related to a revelation of David Melech Yisrael is alive and enduring. David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam, and that is the ordinal of that statement. Okay, David King of Israel is alive and enduring. We say that at the sanctification of the moon every month. Okay. Also Yeshua, plus Yeshua spelt out. So Yeshua ordinal is 53, and Yeshua ordinally spelt out, the first spelling is 127, add them together to come to 180. So we know that Yeshua is very much connected to this concept. We know that it's Amalek that blocks him from being revealed. Okay, but eventually we'll get there. Okay, let's have a look at some of the other numbers. So we come across these numbers all the time. This is the 522, you put up here 261, which relates back to this whole concept of not erase his name and erase his name, which is Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef united together as one. Okay, one is not revealed without the other. Okay, and then we've obviously got Moshiach involved in that as well. Like I've said, there's the 3 aspects of Mashiach. So we've got 261 times 2 comes to 522. And 522 is the ordinal of Yeshua spelt out this way, where the Vav is just a Vav. Up here in this spelling out, this is the highest level of spelling out, where the Vav is filled with a Yod. Okay, but in this instance it comes to 522, so we can see it's related to all these concepts. And the 117 is related to this up here, and also 2 times this. So Amalek is coming against Mashiach ben Yosef. He's targeted at this. If he can bring doubt regarding Mashiach ben Yosef, that will bring doubt in the name YHVH, and it will stop us from attaining our complete faith. We are in this process to rectify faith, not to tolerate doubt. So we've got to get rid of the doubt so that we have complete faith in YHVH. And the 2 aspects of faith that we are trying to correct are faith in the Mashiach and faith in the resurrection of the dead. Okay, the 12th and the 13th principles of faith, as outlined by Rambam. Okay, and that's synonymous with the 2 years that Yosef was in prison for the 2 words that he uttered to the cupbearer, take me out of here and remember me to Pharaoh. He was put into prison for an extra 2 years before he was taken from the pit and elevated up to Pharaoh's viceroy, etc., and all the salvation that then came through that. Yeshua is in exile to help us correct a lack of faith in the Mashiach, because we've got an incomplete understanding. We haven't got a full, clear understanding of the Mashiach, and the serpent and the fantasy fiction have concealed the truth regarding the complete the complete Mashiach of YHVH. We can't have complete faith in a lie. We've got to have complete faith in the truth. Truth and faith are truth and Emunah. Emunah and faith, and Emunah is faith, but truth and Emunah are very much connected. You can't have complete faith in a lie. So if your concept of Mashiach is based on fantasy and fiction, you can never attain perfect faith in that. You can only attain perfect faith in the truth regarding the Mashiach of YHVH, not the Mashiach of our fantasy fiction, not the Mashiach of Edomite mindset, not the Mashiach of Islamic mindset, not the Yishmaelite mindset, not the Mashiach of Erev Rav mindset, the Mashiach of YHVH, as revealed in the mind of God, which is the Torah. Okay? So we can only gain the truth from the Torah, nothing else. If whatever other sources we've got, like the Talmud, aligns to the Torah, is the truth. If the New Testament, what's written in there, aligns to exactly what's written in the Torah, it's the truth. If it doesn't, it's not. Okay, it's the Torah of Moshiach in exile. It's the Torah of Mashiach ben Yosef in exile. And we've got to be able to discern concealment from revelation. Okay, does it reveal the name YHVH, or does it conceal it? If it conceals it, it's not Torah, and it's not the truth. Okay, so we've got to start to think like that. Right, I don't want to get too lost. So Yeshua 117, and I've linked it up. Olive leaf 522. So this is a sign of redemption in the mouth of the dove, which is a symbol. The olive leaf in the mouth of the dove, international symbol of peace. So we can see it's very much connected to the concept of Yeshua. He's out in the nations, subduing Esav, subduing the Edomite mindset, subduing fantasy and fiction and our evil inclination. It's all one, subduing the influences of our body to the authority of our soul. Okay, so our soul dominates over our body, whereas in exile our body dominates over our soul. So we're bringing peace between body and soul, between Israel and the nations, between physicality and spirituality, and this is all symbolized in the olive leaf that's in the mouth of the dove. And this word olive leaf is connected to Mashiach ben David as well, because there's a particular text in Torah which the word leaf and the word to arise, if you like, and to go up are very much connected, because obviously the leaf is the highest part of the tree. So to ascend, if you like, and leaf are very much connected. So King David, there's a particular passage which mentions this verb to ascend 3 times in succession. So we know that this whole concept of the olive leaf is connected to, Mashiach ben David, and we want Mashiach ben David to ascend. We want to experience this ascent back up to Gan Eden, which we will all experience through Mashiach ben David when he's fully revealed. So that also comes to 522, and that's related, like I say, to this. There's some other numbers there. I don't know whether I've brought them up. Okay, so the 72 is connected down here. Look, 1 heart, Lev Echad, 45 regular plus 27 ordinally comes to 72. Probably go over that number as well. The squared ordinals, however, of 1 heart. This is what we're trying to get to, aren't we? 1 heart, 1 spirit, united as one in the final revelation of Mashiach ben David. Okay, but Mashiach ben David is not revealed without Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben and Moshe. The 3 are one. Okay, it's all the soul of Mashiach that YHVH is revealed. Okay, so squared ordinals of 1 heart come to 229, which is related to this. Okay, and his eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel, and everything else that's connected to. Okay, let's go and have a look, because YHVH, the filling of YHVH to the highest level possible, comes to 72. Okay, so that's when the Vav and He are filled with the Yod. So He, Yud, Vav, Yud, Vav. Okay, so that also comes to 72. So we've got connections, olive leaf, one heart, the highest level of filling of Yod He Vav He, plus 72 times 4 comes to 288. There's 4 fillings out of the name Yod He Vav He. They come to 232, which is Yehi Ha, let there be light, by the way. Let me just double check that. 25 and 207. Yeah, that comes to 332. So 332 are the 4 different spellings out of Yod He Vav He. You can look at this up on the internet if you want. There's 4 fillings out for the 4 levels and the 4 worlds. The highest, however, is the filling out of Yod He Vav He, what's called 72. So 4 times the different fillings out for all the different lower levels of the world, coming down to our world, comes to 232. Yehi, or let there be light. However, 4 times 72 comes to 288, which is the lost holy sparks that the Moshiach is retrieving in exile. And we're going through this process in order to retrieve that's lost, and bring it back to the side of holiness from the side of, it's embedded in holiness at this time, but that needs to be corrected. So there's a connection there. I think that's quite an interesting connection myself, and I've gone through teachings previously about that. Yakov, this is Yakov, Jacob, comes to 182 regular, 47 ordinary. Together they come to 229. So we know Yakov represents the truth. This is what I was telling you about, the truth about the concept of Mashiach, and with not fantasy fiction. And through the truth about Mashiach, we will have a truth about the resurrection of the dead. We all fell in Adam. We are all suffering exile. Every single human being that ever was has suffered. There's a purpose in suffering. It's all good because that suffering was willed by Yod He Vav He, who desired that we all enter into this exile. Okay? There's a good reason for it. Like I say, we don't even know and can't perceive that good at this time. We are in exile. But that will be revealed, that goodness will be revealed. But Yakov represents the truth. One of the 13 attributes of mercy, as revealed in the book of Micah, which reveals the name the inner dimension of the name Yod He Vav He. Moshe reveals the outer dimension of the name Yod He Vav He, that is within the letter of the law, just as Moshe, his soul was at the level of neshama, which is within the body. The level of yechida, which is the level of keter, which is the 13 attributes of mercy, as revealed in the book of Micah, which is the Torah of Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, one of those is give truth to Yakov. So we know that Yakov has got to be empowered with the truth. Yakov is synonymous with our soul. Yakov is synonymous with our good inclination. The only way we can dominate our good inclination over our evil inclination, which represents Esau, which represents the nations, Yakov represents Israel, it must dominate over the nations. Soul must dominate over the body, not the other way around. We need to empower Yakov with the truth. The truth comes from Eliyahu Hanavi. Okay? And 5 times in Tanakh, Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, as a letter Vav missing from his name. 5 times in Tanakh, Yakov as an additional letter Vav, and this letter Vav represents the truth. Okay, so Yakov is very much associated with the truth. And also that 47, very interestingly, which is the ordinal of Yakov. If you take the Vav and the 3 different ways the Vav is filled out, that give the 4 different numbers that I talked about, that are the equivalent to Yehi, or let there be light. If you take that Vav and fill it out, this is how we know Yakov represents the Vav. So you've got a Vav which equals 12, and then you've got a Vav Aleph Vav which is 13. Add them together, you get 13 and 12, 25. And then you've got, in this instance here, the highest level of the filling out with the Vav Yod Vav, it comes to 22. 22 plus 25 is 47. So the 3 filling out of the letter Vav equal the ordinal of Yakov. We know Yakov is associated with the letter Vav, and we know that that letter Vav is associated with the 6 days of creation. And the 6 days of creation are synonymous with the 6,000 years of creation. This exile that we're suffering in order to create this rectification from the fall of Adam to the rise of Mashiach, the resurrection of the dead. It's all connected. And what is that connected to? Then it's connected to truth, because the letter Vav is connected to truth. Why do we know that the letter Vav is connected to the truth? It's the 6th letter of the alphabet. So 6 times 6, and into inclusion of 6, is 36. And the ordinal for Emeth, truth, is 36. So we've got that connection to Yakov, and plus we know through the 13 attributes of mercy, which are the Torah of Moshiach ben Yosef, that truth is given to Yakov. So we've got that whole concept of truth there. That's what reveals to us the truth regarding Mashiach, and then that truth regarding Mashiach that creates this one heart and unity instead of separation. The truth about Mashiach brings unity. The lies bring the separation and the hatred and the death and destruction that we've experienced these last 2,000 years. We need to correct that. The only way to correct that is with the truth. The only way to empower our good inclination is with the truth. And when our good inclination, our inner Yakov, our inner Yisrael, our soul is dominated with the truth, we can then overpower our body, our Esav, our nations. Okay, because they're synonymous with fantasy and sin fiction. This is what we've been suffering for 2,000 years, and this is why we've been dying at the rate, and all the death and destruction and disease as a result of all this fantasy and fiction that we've got, that creates all this separation, hatred and wars, where Esav dominates. Esav is a warmonger. That's what we've seen for 2,000 years, since Yeshua died. We've got to correct this with the truth. Okay, so that's an important concept. One heart and a new spirit. So this is taken, is exactly the same as here. Lev echad wa ruach chadasha. One heart and a new spirit, Ezekiel 11:19. Comes to 582, 105 ordinarily. That's 687. So connected up to here, which is 3 times 229. So it's connected to all these. One heart is connected to the one heart and a new spirit. It's all about the truth, okay? And it's all connected ultimately back to the concept of Mashiach, like what we've been going through, okay? It's all glorious. It's utterly and absolutely glorious. And this is what we're trying to attain. One heart and a new spirit in one shepherd, that is Mashiach ben Yosef, with one stick, a unity between the inner revelation of the Torah that was revealed to Moshe, the Torah within the name YHVH within the letter of the law, and the Mashiach, the Torah of Mashiach ben Yosef, the Torah revealed outside the letter of the law, higher levels of mercy, the mercy that comes from the all-merciful level of Keter, an all-seeing eye of mercy, no judgment whatsoever. And this washes clean the Torah of Moshe. Torah of Moshe is filled with harsh judgments. Tells you in the Zohar that is washing clean with the all-seeing eye of mercy. So the Torah of Mashiach ben Yosef cleanses the Torah of Moshe from its harsh judgments, and together they are the one stake that reveal the one shepherd, Mashiach ben David. Okay, and then we've got, and the rabbis say the leper of the house of Rabbi Yehuda Nissi, this is talking about, is his name, from Sanhedrin 98b. I've already mentioned up here about the 4 names. So if you go to read Sanhedrin 98b, and you can read this on safari.org, it'll give you the list of the 4 rabbis, and then straight away after that it says, and then these are what, like, one rabbi says his name is Shiloh, and it's Shelah who says his name is Shiloh. Okay. Yanai, I think, calls the Mashiach Yinon, and Chanina calls the Mashiach Chanina, and then some rabbis call him Menachem. Okay, all the rabbis, however, say the leper of the house of Rabbi, meaning Yehuda Anissi, is his name. Okay, and I've done teachings about the leprous Mashiach. So this is connected to this, and it's also connected back to this number here, because just after that, the four names is listed this. So and I've done teachings about it, you'll have to go see, but basically, we fall into this trap where we only see that the Mashiach is somebody like us. Like Shelah, his name is Shiloh, very similar. Chanina, his name is Chanina. You want to see you see Mashiach in yourself, and you want Mashiach to be like what you are. This is part of the problem which creates fantasy fiction. So what did YHVH does is a leper. Nobody wants to be like a leper. Is the leper of the house, and all the rabbis say that, not just one. All the rabbis knew he's a leper of the house of Rabbi Yehuda, and he say, what does that ultimately teach us? Teaches us, go look at the verses in Torah regarding leprosy and see where the Mashiach is in that. And when you go and have a look at those verses on leprosy, as you can see from my teachings, the leprous Mashiach, and I've done a whole load of them, it reveals one thing and one thing only. It's Yeshua who is the Mashiach. Because Taharath, it is leprosy, comes to 772, which is 2 times 386, and that is not the only connection to Yeshua, because 386 is Yeshua, the spelling out of Yeshua. It's Yeshua who is the leprous Mashiach, nobody else, and all the rabbis knew that. It says all the rabbis, not just Shelah saying his name is Shiloh, and not just Chanina saying his name is Chanina, not just Yanai, I think it is, saying his name is Yinon, and not just some of the rabbis saying Menachem. All the rabbis knew that he was a leper, and they was pointing at us, go look at the verses of leprosy. What else were they pointing? They left clues and signposts as far as in the Talmud, whether they did it intentionally or through the Ruach HaKodesh, and YHVH left us. He left us the signs in the places where you get the obscurity. Okay? So in the places of the concealment, because this is a concealment, isn't it? What is that really telling us? And the rabbis say the leper of the house of Rabbi Yehuda, is it Yudhanisi is his name. That's just a coded message for something. It can only be a coded message for one thing. Go look in the Torah. Go look in the Torah with the places where you're going to find the concept of leprosy. And like I say, in those verses, all those verses reveal that Yeshua is the Mashiach. And clearly up here as well, the one that had his name raised is the Mashiach. So we've got here 1,364 plus 239 comes to 1,603, which is 7 times 229. Linked to all these, one heart, creating the one heart, linked to Yakov, the truth, linked to one heart and a new spirit. This is the place where we want to get to. Linked to, and his eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel. Okay, let's have a look what we finish with. Okay, so if that wasn't enough, then we've got this concept of HaMe'or, which is the luminary, Hagadol, that is big, Hayom, of the day. It's talking about the sun. The sun is Mashiach ben Yosef. The moon is Mashiach ben David. This, I go through these all the time in my teachings. Okay, so without question, the sun is a reference to Mashiach ben Yosef. It comes to 458, which is 2 times 229. Okay. These 3 words come to 355 and the ordinal of 103. Like I say, I go through that all the time. So as we can see, the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef is very much connected to all these concepts. We want to get the one heart, it's through Mashiach ben Yosef. We want the one heart and the one spirit, it's through Mashiach ben Yosef. We want to know what the truth is, we have to understand the truth regarding Mashiach ben Yosef. We want the Mashiach revealed that all the rabbis understood as the Mashiach. It's all connected to the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, which ultimately connects to this. So the salvation of YHVH is revealed through the Mashiach, the truth about Mashiach, and the truth about Mashiach is that Mashiach ben Yosef is Yeshua. That's the ultimate truth, and we have got to divest Yeshua from these filthy Edomite rags in which he's dressed, just as Yosef needed to be divested, and he made himself known to his brothers. So too Yeshua has got to be divested from this Edomite mask and his true identity revealed. He is an Ivri, And Ivri means is totally and utterly synonymous with the truth. To be a Hebrew is to be dominated by the truth, not fantasy fiction. That's what distinguishes us from everybody else. We have got a good inclination that dominates over our body because we are empowered by the truth, okay, regarding everything that there is to know about the concepts that bring us to a place of faith in the name YHVH. They include Moshiach, the concept of Mashiach, and the resurrection of the dead, primarily in this Edomite exile. And with that, I will say Shalom.